Hi, I'm Samuel Morgenstein.
Hey, this is Matt Miller with Mimo.
You're watching
Studio Feed.
Mimo is a live percussion and laptop duo. My goal is to provide as many different sound sources as possible and maybe playing instruments that are not traditionally known as instruments, like wooden bowls, for instance, or goat hooves. This is a piece of a vacuum cleaner from my mother's vacuum. It's probably 35 years old. And it's just a gorgeous sound. At the same time, I'm using traditional instruments, and I'm using them in a context where Matt might record, loop what I'm playing, layer it, change the pitch. And this is one of our main melodic instruments in the group.
I am the electronic side of Mimo. As Samuel explained, he does a lot of percussion and plays a lot of different rhythms, and my job is to grab those sounds, bring them into the laptop, and then turn them into something else. So it might start out as a very simple clave line, might turn into a bass line in a couple of minutes. Pretty much doing remixing and composition on the fly.
One of the challenges for us in Toronto was finding a venue with a quality sound system, because if I'm doing something, for instance, if I'm playing rice bowls or just the sound of pebbles in a wooden bowl, these are very quiet sounds that we amplify and mic, but if you don't have a quality sound system, it's not going to come across to the audience. So one of our challenges is finding that type of space which is both conducive to a great performance, but also a place where people want to come and relax and hang out and enjoy themselves. So that's currently a challenge of ours, is finding that right type of venue, and also finding a venue that's open to a type of music which maybe is not, a traditional music. I would say that's a big challenge for us, and something that is definitely on the forefront of my mind of what I want to solve.
My first instrument, and probably still my main instrument, is guitar, specifically electric guitar. My teenage years, I was pretty much a metalhead, and listening to Scorpions and Rainbow and Judas Priest and Aerosmith, and that stuff is in my music somewhere, even though I don't have a guitar in my hand. But Samuel and I share a lot of these influences together. We went to junior high school together, so we would record, and this was before there were affordable multi-track recorders, let alone computers. We used to take a cassette deck. I would record, let's say, one of our performances in stereo on a standard cassette deck. I would rewind that and hit play on that at the same time I hit record on a second cassette deck. A few years after doing that, the first Porta Studio came out, which was a Tascam 4-track cassette recorder. They probably still make some now, but yeah, this was the model 144, and we're talking like 1980. But even then, we wouldn't just do regular multi-track recording. We would flip the tape over, do stuff in reverse. We were playing with synthesizers, having our girlfriends at the time come over and do background vocals, and but it was even back then it was very experimental. And so we playing more guitar and stuff, but and doing some cover tunes, but we really loved collaborating on our own ideas.
My background is in traditional percussion. I have a degree in playing classical music, playing percussion in orchestras, so I have that background, but I think most percussionists have an experimental mindset and are always thinking about sound. And I've always been interested in music from all world cultures, as Matt has, and both of us have done explorations around the planet, traveling, searching for sounds. I went to India, I did a lot of field recording there. Matt's done the same in Morocco. And so both of us, there were many years where Matt and I were doing our own thing separately, but we had a very much similar interests in world music and just experimenting with sound. So as a percussionist, it's very easy to experiment with sound, much easier than, say, an instrument like the violin, which has a distinct history and an idiom that it comes out from, which is classical music. Percussion is very much has existed since the Stone Age, and has existed in all different cultures, and whether it's in classical music or folk music or popular music, there's always percussion. So it's much easier as a percussionist to experiment and be open to all kinds of sounds. And so the great thing about Mimo is it allows me to take all that experimentation and that interest in world music and bring it together and meld it with electronics and what Matt does and his sensibilities. And that's the great thing about Mimo.
I love being in the studio. You know, it's the type of thing I could put my head down in my studio at 9 a.m. and finish at 9 p.m. and not get up. And but I love performing as well. I think they're very different, but at the same time, one feeds the other.
I definitely prefer live performance. That being said, the great thing about being in the studio is we get to perfect the sounds and the quality of the sound that we want. Sometimes it's hard to duplicate that in a live performance. So for that reason, in a studio situation, it's so much fun because we can really sharpen and clarify exactly the quality of the sound we want. And since I'm working with so many sounds, that's very exciting because we can really hone in on a perfect sound. And then trying to duplicate that live, that's always the challenge. Our big goal for this year is our second album, which is going to be very different from our first album, No Exit, which was really a tool for DJs. This album is really going to be more for general listening, general public, and it's going to serve to hopefully open up Mimo to different audiences that have heard us previously. So we're very excited about it. These are going to be all tunes that are very rhythmic driven, a lot of melody, a lot of different colors. So that's our goal for this year, is to create this album and either press it as a CD or on vinyl or both. But that's our project for the year. We're very focused on that. We're very excited about it too.
To anyone that wants to make music, whether you're a singer-songwriter or you're into experimental electronica and found sound weirdness, just be true to yourself. Do what you do what makes you feel good. And I think the goal of any musician is to try to transcend what came before, but sort of take what they know and what they've what turns them on, and just sort of elevate that.
Be open to all experiences, music or otherwise. You'll find inspiration from the weirdest and oddest places and oddest people, and don't be afraid to collaborate with people that you wouldn't think there would be anything to collaborate about. And I think that's real learning comes from that.